Good afternoon. This meeting will come to order. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Land Use and Transportation Committee. My name is Supervisor Malia Cohen. I'm the chair of this committee, and to my right is Supervisor Scott Weiner, who is vice chair, and on my left is Supervisor Aaron Peskin. Our clerk today is Mr. Victor Young. At this time, I'd like to take a moment and thank Leo DeAssis and Jim Smith from SF TV for assisting us in this broadcast. Mr. Clerk, do you have any announcements?
Yes, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices. Completed speaker cards and copies of any documents to be included as part of the file should be submitted to the clerk.
All right.
Items acted upon today will appear on the October 4, 2016 Board of Supervisors agenda unless otherwise stated.
Thank you very much. Could you please call item 1?
Item number 1. Ordinance amending the planning code by revising the zoning map to rezone 2070 Folsom Street from its current designation as public and 50X to urban mixed and 85X.
Okay, Supervisor Campos has joined us today. He is also the sponsor of this item. He will lead the discussion from this moment forward. Just want to recognize that we're going to have presentations from Gino Salcedo of Planning and Ann Romero of the Mayor's Office of Housing. Supervisor, do you have any opening remarks?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, colleagues of the Land Use Committee, for hearing this item. We are at a very critical time here in the city and county of San Francisco, especially in neighborhoods like the Mission, where we have the worst affordability crisis in our history. The last number that I saw was, as of February of this year, the average rent for a two-bedroom apartment in San Francisco was $4,126. Very few people can afford to pay that amount. We in my office have been working over the last 8 years to make sure that we have development that is reflective of the needs of our community, and that means, especially right now, to have development that is affordable. I am proud that with respect to this property that's before this committee, that my office worked closely with the city, with community folks, to take this city-owned parking lot at the corner of Folsom and 17th and turn it into a parcel where half the site will become 100% affordable housing and the other half will become a new park, the first new park in San Francisco in more than a decade. The purpose of this legislation is to cut red tape to ensure that more affordable units are built on this site. Specifically, what you have before you is legislation that rezones the parcel from P to urban mixed use and increases the height from 50 to 85 feet so as to maximize the number of units that are constructed on the site. Approving this rezoning and height increase will pave the way for the construction of 139 new affordable housing units in the Mission. This is one of several affordable housing projects that we have in the pipeline, and I'm proud that this number of 139 are apartments for families in transitional age youth in this neighborhood. The ground floor of 2060 Folsom will offer community services. It will include a preschool, infant toddler care, after-school youth programs operated by the Mission District organizations, and a retail space that's intended for a cafe. The last 100% affordable housing site in the Mission that was completed in 2011. And again, we're very excited about this project, and I want to thank the development team of the Mission Economic Development Agency as well as Chinatown Community Development Center for working on this project. I also want to thank all the community-based organizations that will be bringing much-needed programs to this space, including Poder, Jamestown Community Center, Good Samaritan, and Mission Neighborhood Center. As was noted by the chair, we have a number of speakers here. The first one being Gino Salcedo from the Planning Department.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Cohen, members of the board, Eugenio Salcedo, Planning Department staff. You have before you the proposed ordinance that would amend the planning code by revising the zoning use and height and bulk district maps for 2070 Folsom Street, changing from its current designation as public and its height and bulk designation of 50X to urban mixed use and height and bulk designation of 85X. This proposal was initially introduced on May 10th by Supervisor Campos. So the subject property is located on the west side of Folsom Street between 16th and 17th in the Mission Street and is owned by the City and County of San Francisco. Currently, the project site is developed with a surface parking lot covering the entire extent of the lot with approximately 95 vehicle parking spaces. This rezoning and height reclassification is necessary as to allow for the construction of the proposed 9-story, 85-foot tall, approximately 165,000 square foot mixed-use building. On July 28th, the Planning Commission heard and reviewed the proposed legislative amendment for the zoning and height reclassification. After public comment, which was overwhelmingly supportive of the proposed changes, the Commission voted 5-0 for recommending that the Board of Supervisors adopt this proposed ordinance, which is now before you. Some of the basis for the recommendation of approval is the fact that this proposed rezoning and height reclassification change will allow for the construction of a 100% affordable housing project in the Mission District, which has been hit particularly hard in experiencing the issues of gentrification and displacement. The rezoning and subsequent development would be enhancing the city's supply of affordable housing, specifically in the Mission District neighborhood. Additionally, the proposed urban mixed-use zoning designation is appropriate for the site because it is consistent with the other existing zoning districts currently found in the immediate neighborhood. And so I thank you, supervisors. That does conclude my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salcedo. Colleagues, unless you have any questions for our planning department, I'd like to call upon Shannon Dodge of the Chinatown Community Development Center, which is one of the 2 affordable housing developers that have been working on this project.
Good afternoon, Chair Cohen and supervisors. I'm very pleased to be before you today to present this major affordable housing project. Chinatown CDC was invited by Meta to be co-developers with them on this. We have submitted an entitlements application for a 139-unit project. Might end up being a few units less than that, but that's what we're applying for. All units will be 100% rental apartments, affordable to households with incomes at 60% of area median income or below, in many cases far below that. And most units will be family units, 2- and 3-bedroom apartments. There will be some 1-bedroom apartments, and then about 20% of the apartments will be reserved for transition-age youth who are 18 to 24-year-olds exiting foster care or homelessness, including some that will be reserved for parenting transition-age youth. The proposed height and bulk change is really essential to making the best use of this very special site next to a park. I wanted to show an image or two of the project, if I may. Our architect team of Mithun Solomon, along with local Mission District architect YA Studio, have really developed a great project design, and we're very happy to say that with 3 community meetings and extensive community outreach, we really haven't encountered any project opposition. We've gotten great feedback from neighbors, and we continue to take comments into consideration from members of the public and neighbors. I will be available to answer any questions that you may have about the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dodge. Next is Ann Romero of the Mayor's Office of Housing.
Good afternoon, Chair Cohen and members of the board. I am Ann Romero, a project manager at the Mayor's Office of Housing, and I would like to indicate our department's strong support of this project at 2070 Folsom Street and the proposed rezoning ordinance. As you heard, MoCD has owned the site since 2011 when we purchased it, along with Rec and Park, who purchased the adjacent parcel to develop the neighborhood park. And MoCD selected Meta and CCDC to develop the site through an RFP, which was issued in June 2015, in response to their high-quality proposal to develop affordable family housing with 20% of the units targeted to homeless or at-risk transitional age youth. The LP owner entity currently has an option to enter into a long-term ground lease of the site, and we believe that this site is ideal for family housing. We have provided a pre-development loan in the amount of $2 million, and we anticipate total city financing towards this project in the range of $21 million. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Romero. Again, thank you to the Mayor's Office of Housing for all the work that has gone into this project. Colleagues, unless you have any questions, I would just open it up to public comment. I know we have a number of speakers who are here to speak on this item, so I'll just call their names. Maria Aviles, Feliciano de Vera, Veronica Ramirez, Dido Romero. Please come on up. Adelante.
Buenas tardes. Gracias por el tiempo que nos están dando para expresar nuestros...
¿Tu nombre, por favor?
María Avilés de Dolores Street Community. Yo estoy aquí en representación de todas las familias que viven en los hoteles Azaros del área de la Misión.
Good afternoon. My name is
You can speak into the mic when you're translating. You can use the other.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Aviles. I'm here on behalf of Dolores Street Community Services and all the families that live in the SRO hotels in the Mission District.
Me da pena y tristeza de que haya muchos edificios para gentes con dinero y haya personas que se oponen a un edificio que va a ser para personas de bajos recursos, sabiendo la necesidad que hay en la ciudad de San Francisco de vivienda económica.
It really hurts to see that there is a lot of housing being built for people with money while there's not enough for families living with low income.
Por favor, yo les suplico que tomen en cuenta todas esas personas que viven con tanta necesidad en la ciudad y por favor que apoyen este proyecto. Muchas gracias.
I ask that you please take into consideration all the families under these conditions and to create housing available for them. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Gracias. Next speaker. Next speaker.
Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Feliciano Vera. I'm a senior project manager with the Mission Economic Development Agency, currently working in tandem with our partners at Chinatown Community Development Corporation to bring this project to fruition. Here to express our support for the item on the agenda and to reiterate just the urgency of the need in the community here, as you've heard already from our partners as well as some of the community members. This is a project that if we built it today would be filled immediately, and as each of you knows, the need for affordable housing at every level of the income spectrum is incredibly urgent in this neighborhood in particular, but throughout the city as well. And so we look forward to bringing this project to fruition with CCDC as well as with our partners at the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development. And if you have any questions regarding the project, I'm available to answer those as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Cohen and members of the board. My name is Veronica Ramirez, and I'm an immigrant from Mexico. When I recently moved into the States, my first neighborhood or my first home was in the Mission District. I lived in two buildings for 5 years, and because of the high rent, and also because of the need of the space, because I live with my brother and sister, they got married, so we needed a bigger space. We moved into the Excelsior, where we lived for 12 years. And on the downturn of the economy, our landlady lost her home, and we lost our home. We couldn't afford anything on the Mission because we were looking for even rooms because we had to split up because some landlords wouldn't take children. So it was difficult to have seniors and children at home, so we had to split up. And some of the rooms at the time were 800, and they would allow only 2 people to live in that room. Luckily for us, we found a home for 4 rooms, 3 bathrooms in the Bayview, which is my neighborhood and home for the past 3 years. And the story of my family, or large families, is one of hundreds in San Francisco, especially in the Mission, where monolingual feel more comfortable to shop and look for resources in the Mission. That's why I urge you to please approve this building and more, so families can stay and live in San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Avalos. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioner, no, supervisors. I always go to the Planning Commission, but this is the land use. Dairo Romero, Mission resident. I'm working for the Mission Economic Development Agency. I have been part of this process of community planning since 2006 when we were part of the Eastern Neighborhood Plan. And this site, this parking lot, was a PUC land, and we identified that as a neighborhood park and affordable housing. We had been fighting, and this is thanks to the organizing, that we are getting almost 800 units of affordable housing in the Mission right now. And this has been a lot of struggles to get this housing bill in the Mission, and this is why I encourage and urge you, supervisors, to approve this project and more forthcoming in the pipeline. And yeah, the need is big, and we have seen all the families living in the studios and SROs that they are not allowed to live. But this is the only resource that people has Latinos to live in the Mission. And we need more affordable housing. I hope that we will be able to achieve the goal of 2,400 new units in the Mission to supply the demand of affordable housing. The income of recently there is a survey from the Mission through the school district that most of our families make under 50,000, 60,000 a year. This is the house that we need for. We don't need more luxury condos. We don't need more people coming with high incomes in our neighborhood because of the displacement and gentrification. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. At this point, is there any other member of the public who has not spoken who would like to speak? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Madam Chair, that concludes the public comment and the presentation. And just one last point, I want to thank Sheila Chung-Hagan, who's here in chambers of my office. We have been working on this for many, many years, so it's been a long time coming, and it's a very exciting time for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion for this item?
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Peskin, and without objection, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Supervisor Campos. Thank you to the community folks that have come out. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Mr. Clerk, is there anything else?
That completes the agenda for today.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned.